No,
So,
thank you. It's lovely to be here.
So Rupam's written this fabulous collection here, Chronicles of Entering My Body. This book's very dear to my heart because I've worked intensely and intimately with Rupam on preparing and helping her along the way in the creation of this wonderful book, this wonderful collection. And it was a real honour to work with the material that went into that book and the whole process. So what we thought we'd do is just essentially have a small conversation of around 15 minutes. You know, there's not a bell on it, but just a small conversation with some questions, but more like a conversation than a question answer. And then after that, Rupam will do a reading of some works from her books. I believe she'll be reading 7 poems from the book. So, Rupam. So, if I can ask you, of course, I know some of this, but still some of these questions, you know, maybe I never asked in the process of working with you because we were just so busy in the work of it. We didn't get the time to kind of sit back and have that relaxed conversation around it, which is actually an interesting point to think about when one's working with someone. You're working very intensely with a person. But for those people who haven't yet got the book, or for those people who have, could you maybe just start by letting us know what was your starting point and how did you build in?
Ah, all right. Yeah, but before that, I want to thank you because it was absolutely marvelous working with Linda. And I think one of her greatest qualities is to touch the pulse of the works. And I think that really helps because it was like, how should I put it, rhythm and blues, or, you know, there's something, things going on. I mean, she understood what I said, and hopefully vice versa. So it was just marvelous because I think that is really important. Sometimes you might end up with someone with whom you don't have that rapport. But Linda, I think she gets under the skin of things. So thank you, Linda, for that. And thank you, Melissa, for believing in my words.
Publishing it.
And thank you to everybody, and Mickey, and I really want to thank Justin, and I want to thank all of you because you're here and you made it, and despite the stormy weather. So thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Yeah. So you were asking me about
the starting point.
The starting point. That's a little bit of a it's not really tough that way because I remember I started with The Bone Journey, which is a poem that I wrote nearly 2 years ago. And I've always been fascinated by the idea of the human body and what really goes on, and what makes a human body, of course the anatomy, and being an artist as well, and looking within. And also the spirit part of it. And these questions have been playing on my mind all the time. And there's a very dear doctor friend of mine, he's a cardiac surgeon. And I asked him, I said that you've been treating so many different patients and you operate on them. So how is it different? Because you might have the same techniques of, performing a surgery on different people. He says, yeah, that's the funny thing. He says that the process might be the same, the technology might be the same, but the outcome is so different because there's that little space somewhere which I don't know anything about. That's a mystery because I might be performing the same operation on one person and then the same one on another, but the outcome is completely different. So I wanted to explore that little area, that little space. So, and but I had written the Bone Journey before that, and then he gave me this opportunity. He said, I just mentioned it to him because this was something maybe inspired by Barbara Hepworth. I said, I would love to watch an operation. And he said, yeah, you can do it. And bless him, he allowed me to be in the operation theatre when he was performing a mitral valve replacement surgery, an open heart surgery, and I watched them and cut open the body and enter it and repair the heart. I saw the beating heart, and then they take it off the machine and then they work on it, repair it and suture it whole again. It's just a body. It's just a body out there. And later I said I want to meet the woman. And she was fine about 2 or 3 days later, and she was smiling. I spoke with her. So I just found that miraculous. Absolutely. And I used to think, when I wrote The Bone Journey, I knew that there's a lot more that I need to explore. And I want to find out about us, the human body, and we worry about a little thing that happens to us. But there's that spirit inside of us which wants us to fight all the time and survive. And then so I guess I started writing many more poems after that, all in the same vein but in different areas of life, perhaps about the human body and about our family lives and what really happens, and then this disintegration of relationships, love, loss, and then the silence, the anguish that we feel that's inside, and all of that. So I guess that's how I wrote all these different poems. So I'm sorry, it's just I wouldn't be able to give a very, very straightforward answer, but I tend to digress. So I was telling her, I said I don't want to ramble out there.
No, not at all. I mean, I don't think you can give a sewn up, like, one sentence answer anyway, and it's a very deep work. It's incredibly intimate, and at the same time it's entirely relatable. I think anyone reading the work can relate to it because it's around human experience, it's around things that we're all sharing. I do think it's absolutely fascinating, the background of you watching actual operations, which I only found out recently, as in after I'd worked with Rupam and the book was produced. You told me about that.
It was transcendental.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, really amazing.
And I didn't faint. my dad was really worried, and he kept sending me messages, which I saw later. He said, keep drinking water. And I said no. And then they asked me later, they said that how come, because there were many doctors out there who said that they'd fainted during their first experience. And I was quite surprised too, but I thought to myself, I said to them, because I think this was a very constructive thing. It wasn't, if I see somebody being stabbed, I don't think I would have taken that. I mean, that would have been terrible. But to actually watch people working, and yeah.
So obviously I know and you know the amount of work that was produced and put forward for the book, but I think it'd be interesting for people to know about the process of, kind of how many poems and pieces were in mind for the collection, and then the process that we went through in order to come to the collection as it is. And were there any of those, this is actually not on my list of questions that I thought I would ask, were there any of those that were hard to let go of, that you wanted in and that maybe I said I don't think so? Were there any of those that happened?
I think they're, I forget now. I wouldn't remember actually. I don't remember. Yeah. But do you remember anything that you might have?
No, I think there were a
few.
I think there were a few, but I think that we were.
I don't think they were that close to my heart.
No, I think that you, at any point, it was like, yes, yeah, definitely that needs to go, or that's not in the final sequence of work. I know that the sequence of the work changed several times, didn't it? We put a few from one chapter into another. I mean, it's a huge work, coming to the point where you've settled on the sequence of a collection of work. It's massive. One has to sit with it for a very long time and truly absorb.
Oh yeah, completely. And you were really helpful, because I remember you said to me that your work should tell a story. And then I went about, and what I've always believed in that, whether it is to do with my artworks or poems or prose or any other, I feel that after a point you need to just move back and be true to your work rather than to your to yourself, in the sense that there could be works that are very close to your heart, but then you feel that in the complete in the collection there's something that's not working. So you've got to let go, because you feel that I think that is the most important thing for an artist. I mean, that's a very personal thing. I don't know what others would feel, but I feel that when I'm in the creative process, I think that work is larger than me. So I need to let go of my ego as such, and because there are some things, what you're saying, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there are some poems which I might be feeling very close to emotionally, but then I know that, it's not right, it's just not working. So that way, I think, and it's a collaborative thing, isn't it, the whole process? Because writing is, it's something that one does in isolation. You lead the life of a hermit, and you're writing or creating or any work of art. But then once it has to be turned into a book, I guess, then it's a collaborative process where I think I need to be open to anything that the other person says, because I remember whatever you said, sometimes one does feel that no, I don't think, I don't like that, but then you've got to stop and say that if there's any criticism, then there must be something that it would have stemmed from. So I need to be open to.
But also, as an editor, I think that my way is that it's almost like if I'm not the be all and end all, but if I do if I suggest something to any client, anybody, if I suggest something and their resistance is such that if you like, they provide a very good reason for it to stay, and it's like then I might come round also to say, yes, I see that now, I see what you're saying, yes, I hadn't seen that, or okay, actually then we need to alter something before or after so that can sit there and be as it is. So it's a complete working situation where both people, and then this third thing, as you mentioned earlier, this alchemical process, this other that is not definable per se, which is the essence of the work itself, which has its own rhythm, it has its own voice, it has its own stamp that it wants to say, it wants to make, and it's like allowing that to come out and be the presence of the work itself.
Yeah, and I think it's happened, now that you talk about it, it's happened with us as well. There are many things that you suggested, and I felt that, you're right. And then there are some that I felt that, no. Remember, I think I used the word allows in a particular poem, and we said, no, that's not working. I said, no, for the rhythm. I don't want to, you remember that?
Yeah, exactly. So, editing can come down to these incredibly finite.
The finer tuning.
Let's find a different word, or you've been talking in grams and now you're talking in ounces, or
And I think we had that with the tightrope walker
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Remember the
Yeah,
height and
yeah.
and you were brilliant
Well,
because and that's what I loved working with you.
Oh, thank you.
And
Me too. I think that for those who don't have the book, and I hope you get it, there are seven amazing artworks within the book, because Rupam is also an artist working within the medium of painting, visual arts and sculpture. And so there's a sculpture at the beginning of the book, and then there are 7 artworks throughout it. And the cover itself, I mean, I just think this is absolutely astonishing, most sublime cover. I mean, it takes me to another place. I mean, I think you couldn't have chosen better for the cover.
That again was a collaborative.
Yeah, sure. We looked at several similar images,
paintings of mine. And,
yeah, but I felt that, I think that what was interesting for me as an editor working with a collection that had art within it, we always knew that it was going to have art within it. And then when we came to the process of looking at and selecting and you selecting, it was suddenly something else. And I think if I was doing that again with someone with a book that contained, you know, poetry collection with art, maybe we'd have to have longer than we had, because I felt that when we came to the artwork, which is astonishing and wonderful, and it works fabulously.
Thank you.
But I felt that it was like being suddenly in another frontier, wasn't it? Because it's different. It's another medium, and suddenly there we were in this frontier land of art when I'd been working with the words, and suddenly had to consider what artwork was going to work there, as you did also.
Yeah.
And originally, I can't remember exact number, but I think you maybe submitted around
14, I think.
Yeah, around 14.
Yeah.
So it was quite a lot of work, wasn't it, to feel what needs to be there, and that was on you more.
And yeah, because quite a few people have been asking me this, and they say that, are they illustrations? And I keep telling them that no, they are not. They are standalone works. But I might have said this earlier on the online launch as well, where I said that I write through the day, and in the evenings I make my way to the studio and I paint. So these works, I chose works that I painted around the same time that I was working on a particular section of the poems, or the collection of the poems, group of poems, really. And so I just felt that subconsciously, whether it's the medium, different mediums that you choose, whether you're writing or you are painting or you're carving, and if it's around the same time, I think it's the same emotion that you're working with, because it keeps playing subconsciously. So and that's what it is, because they are not illustrations. Yeah, and having said that, I don't know if we had the slideshow, so we could...
Earlier, yes.
Yes.
Oh, we did. Oh, I wasn't here. Oh, all right, yeah.
Put it on again.
Oh, no.
After the reading, we'll put it on again, and then
we
you
can talk
can
about
see
it.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Pardon? I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it was playing while we were in there. So.
While we were eating.
So before we start reading the poems, do you want to...
You'd like to have that on now? Yeah,
yes,
Vicky's able to. I thought actually, Rupam, whilst we're in this interim, and we'll just have we'll see the slideshow for a few minutes, and then I wondered if, and this wasn't on the plan either, but personally I think that's kind of the best thing. How about, would you be up for like maybe 1 or 2 questions from anyone who might have one? Because I think that could really open things up.
Oh, I'd love that.
Because we've got quite a few writers here and artists and
that would
and
be...
people who are just generally interested. Is there anyone that does have a question?
Which did you start first?
did you start painting first and then writing poetry, or was it the other way around, or was it together?
Together.
Together.
You mean in her life?
In your life?
Oh, in my life. Oh gosh. No. I've been writing all my life, and from the time I was really little. And I belong to a family of 39 generations of artists and poets and musicians, but they're mainly artists. So, and my dad is an artist, my mom is, grandfather. So I've grown up with artists, and I was always in awe of my dad and what a brilliant artist he was. So I never got down to painting when when he was he's still there but not in front of him. But then the first painting I ever did in my life was on the 2nd of May 2017.
Wow, so quite recently.
Yeah, but I had it in me. I used to sketch, but I was always a little nervous when it came to painting, because they are all such giants in my family when it comes to artists.
I should say that Rupam came to international acclaim when you were 19, wasn't it, for your work, for your poetry? Yeah, so you came through with a breakthrough pamphlet, wasn't it, that came to acclaim? Yeah, and you were invited to various places, weren't you? And you've also received the Wasifiri Award and other awards, haven't you? The Bridport and yeah.
Very modest. It's lovely hearing you speak, the two of you.
Sorry.
I love hearing the two of you speak about this project, because the thing that I love about this book is that it's such a journey of. It's like listening to a playwright and a dramaturge, or a midwife and a mother who's just given birth. And imagine if we could all go and just have a chat with our midwife a few
That
years
is just
later.
so beautiful. You've said it so beautifully.
The shape of, I love the shape of the work and the intimacy of it. But like you say, that something I struggle with massively as a writer is the honing down of all the stuff into these few pieces and the selection. And I think that's been done so beautifully, and it's so lovely to see that symbiotic relationship. And I think it is important that
I've been impressed since the very beginning with Rupam and how she has time for her family, or if she has time for her family, and what her family feels about all this. To bring it back into the very mundane business of when I'm writing a book, the telephone always rings, or the postman calls, and I have to hold
that happens to me all the time.
I don't know how you do it.
I think it's the
Funkage would be able to tell you how I do it. And I know they put up with my tantrums, don't they?
No, we find it quite amazing too. She managed to do it.
Bless them.
I think it's the immediacy of your work that comes through.
I'm sorry?
The immediacy. So when you were talking earlier about that small place where the surgeon was talking about, he can do one thing here and one thing there, and it'd be completely different outcomes. It's that small space that you've occupied and you've flowed through, and that really comes through in the work. It's so beautiful.
Ruth, you want to ask something? And then I think we'll finish and go to the reading.
Do you ever listen to rap music?
I hear it. I don't listen to it. Thanks to my daughter.
It's just because the power of the written word is coming through now so much with the younger people. Because despite all this Instagram, social media, blah, 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 the youth are actually bringing their stories and their experiences through the written word, which I find so refreshing. I just wondered if you'd or if you had ever thought of putting anything to music or.
Oh, I love music. I mean, music is something. I think I can't live without music, and of course Western classical, and I did start learning the sitar, that's Indian classical, and plus quite an eclectic taste in music.
There's so much lyricism as well.
And one very last thing before we close this part of this evening. What's next? Maybe it's a rap album.
It's like Bob Dylan. He was like a social poet, rapper in his time, although they didn't have rap then. Do you know what I mean? It's using like the music and the words.
That would be quite
amazing.
Do you have an idea for what's next? Or are you before that time yet?
Like I said earlier, I work. I'm like a carver, you know.
Yes,
so
right.
I have a whole lot of projects that I work on simultaneously.
Yeah.
So I've completed a novel. So it's in the process of the final edit.
Oh.
I'm working on a collection of short stories and some essays and also, you know, a few things here and there. So yeah,
Wow.
plus of course the artworks. And
You're one of those Indians that have all these arms that go out.
Indian goddess.
Yes.
Look at him, he's having a great time. Pulling my leg.
I love the way you talk about your sculpture though,
Yeah.
in terms
Yeah,
of
me
writing,
too.
because I have a very similar kind of cutting away and a honing from a huge, there's this huge stuff up here and then you bring it down and you
Yes,
hone
yes.
it into very, very little and you hope
Bear
that
it
everything
down
comes
and-
through and that's very much that sculptural. My mum's an artist as well, so
Oh,
maybe that's got that
yeah.
from her, I don't know,
Oh, fabulous.
but yeah.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Rupam.
you.
Oh, thank you.
And,
It is so lovely.
yeah.
I just love her.